to learn a little bit about workflow and sign-off sheets. Sign-off sheets are part of a standard function that comes with our workflow module. So whenever you're dealing with workflow, you've already got this as a tool. It's important to say the FileHold has an option to convert documents to PDF upon completion of a workflow task. Using this tool, FileHold can create custom sign-off sheets and attach them as part of the document. Setup for this needs to be done at a system administration level, but can be utilized by anybody in the workflow process. So building this is a specific skill that only a system admin can have, but then after that, anybody who has access to the workflow can deploy. Some of the core concepts we're going to be dealing with today. First of all is convert to PDF, which is a task-triggered function that converts compatible documents to PDF, and these can be at any stage of the workflow. So this is an important first part of this. When it comes, we need to be able to convert these documents to PDF. So if you're dealing with a document that our viewer does not support or is not able to open, you will not be able to utilize this tool in order to create the sign-up sheet for yourself. You'll need to make sure that you have that the documents compatible for it. Second thing we're going to be using is merge tags. If you've never used merge tags before, it's a function that allows descriptive or administrative metadata to be used by different processes, including auto-filing, watermarking, or in file properties for Office documents. And finally, we'll be using our save search function, which allows multiple workflow sign-off sheet templates to be stored and selected for the particular process. So it gives us a selection point to use for those. A little bit about merge tags, because I haven't introduced these before and I just want to have a quick mention of them. So they're used to insert information from descriptive or administrative metadata on the document into another process, so into another document. The syntax for these in its simplest form, and it's what we're going to be dealing with today, is square bracket, tag type, pipe, tag object, pipe, tag format, square bracket to close. Now what those break down as, this denotes the start of the merge tag and the end of the merge tag. So it's the way the system knows that it's going to begin the process and end it. The tag type is either going to be sys or MD, either for system or for metadata. And those are the two terms we're going to be choosing from. We have obviously the specific field that we're dealing with. So if I was looking for a PO number, it might be MD pipe, which is the symbol in between there, pipe PO number, if for example, or whatever other field made the most sense. If you want to put any formatting on the tag, you can put that on the end. And I've done that as part of the demo today as well. So you'll see what that looks like. And that's the field mask, which is not required. So you could just have the tag type and the tag object, and that's perfectly valid. And remember that the dash, the upright that we're seeing here is the pipe character, which on my keyboard is just shift above enter. It's right above the backslash there. So again, that's available for anyone who wants to use it. It's absolutely available. Now the steps to create the workflow sign-off sheets, and this is why you need to be a system admin, because a lot of these functions that most users won't be able to access. First, you need to create a PDF merge template in Microsoft Word. So we're utilizing Word for this because it has functions that we're able to access through FileHold. So it needs to be, our source document for this needs to be a Word file. We then need to create a schema for PDF converter templates. And I'm not sure if I've misspelled converter there or not, but just in case I have, I apologize for it. So when we create our schema for PDF converter templates, then that's what we're going to use in order to apply this. It's going to be a dedicated schema. This is the only thing we're going to be using it for. We then need to add our PDF merge templates under this new schema. So we're going to be adding in our template or templates so we can put different processes to different documents. We're then going to create a public save search to locate all of those converter templates. And this is what FileHold is going to use internally to generate the list of available templates, which is why we need to use a dedicated schema and a dedicated search in order to find those documents. Then we're going to convert our PDF converter settings within the workflow. So we're actually going to manipulate that within the template, and we're going to cover that, of course, in detail. Enable convert to PDF in the workflow template and choose configuration options so we know what we want it to do. And then finally, initiate the workflow and test to confirm. So we're going to go through all of those steps today in our hypothetical use case, which is effectively the process will mark purchase orders as approved. The workflow is two-step, a review step from the salesperson, then an approval by the supervisor. Additional steps can be added, of course, but this process will show how the sign-off sheet can be added and at what stage it can be implemented. So we're going to go through all of these individual tasks. So I'm just going over here to my to my last sheet, and I'm going to bring up my server. So we should be seeing FileHold there, and I'm just going to minimize this down so I can see my workspace. And here is my Word document. Now, if you go to our website, you will see other PDF converter templates available for you to use, and I've adapted this one from that. So I'm just going to open this up using Word. I don't need to do anything fancy with it. And we're seeing some of the fields onto this. Now, some of this you'll see here, there's an elaborate piece of phrasing that's been done. This is directly from the original document. Again, double square brackets to indicate that we're beginning a merge tag process, or we're pulling information in. The sign-off sheet name, that it's going to be a horizontal list across, include the reviewers, the columns, and this is basically making a chart for us at the top of the list. Right now, this just looks like text. This will convert into something that's more clear later on. I'll show you this process when it's done. From here, we have titles followed by our actual, by the merge tag that we're using, along with our syntax. Here we're seeing the double square bracket, sys pipe, approval date pipe, and then a format for that. Down here, workflow name has no formatting, so therefore it's just the two fields. The first one indicate what kind of metadata tag it is, or where it's pulling system information, or MD for metadata information, like we can see down here. And then some different examples of how we're using some of the different formatting on, in this case, just choosing the year off the approval date for the fiscal year on the document, which is arbitrary on my end, but again, it's just designed to do this. We're also showing you here what information we're looking for. So we're looking to capture PO number, GL code, vendor, etc. Now in FileHold, let me show you what the source documents look like for this. So I have a save search here for purchase orders. So this is going to be my sample document for today, and these are the metadata fields that are attached. So my syntax for these, GL code, needs to match what I've got on the document here for GL code. I need to make sure it's the same thing. If I'm spelling it differently or using different terminology, I'm going to have a different experience in the output. So we want to make sure that that's at least somewhat streamlined within the process. All right, this is sufficient for my demonstration purposes here. You can do more formatting or work to it, obviously, but this is sufficient for what I'm doing for this purpose of the demo, so I'm going to close this document out. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't just add this directly into FileHold, it's because that's my first step. My second step now is to create a schema for myself. So I'm going to go up to my administration, library configuration, document schemas, and we're very going to quickly make a PDF converter template. Now, I already happen to have one loaded into here, so I could use this just as well. What I want to show you, though, is that I've got a name for this PDF converter template. It's a record. I don't have any members of this because this isn't actually something I want people to play with or manipulate or change. This is simply a converter template that I'm using in the system, and I can block people off from that. Metadata fields, none. I don't need them for this. All this is a gathering tool for these PDF converters that I'm using. Workflow, none, because the PDF converter is not going to be going through workflow. Courier, none. Custom naming, none. Auto filing, none. Event schedule, none. Lookup, none. Effectively, the only thing I'm using here is my first general tab because this is just my bucket to put these PDF converter templates into. By the way, change the name to whatever makes the most sense for you. Workflow sign-off sheet templates, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm using PDF converter templates because that's the same language that's on our website. So I wanted to be consistent between those two. So this is the process I would do for creating it, and then I would say okay, and that creates my document type. So now we're free to add in our new PDF merge template within that schema. So I'm going to go up to my inbox. We're going to bring in a document. Let me just make sure I'm bringing in the right one. So I'm just going to remove that. Yep. PO approval workflow. And again, I'm just going to use my preview mode over here to make sure that's all correct. It is. And now we're going to set the document's metadata for it. So we're going to choose our PDF converter template. He says going through here quickly, there we are. And I don't have any other metadata for it, so I can save that in. Now for its storage location, I've built myself an IT cabinet and I've got a PDF converters under template. So I've just got a place where I can store these off to the side. So we're going to drop that file directly into there and send everything in, and that adds a document into FileHold. So now we have our document within the repository, and it's now available for us to use for our PDF sign-off sheets. The next step now is I need to tell FileHold where these documents are. So I need to make myself a search in order to find these. So easiest way for me to do this is to go to advanced search, which I like doing by coming up to here to the advanced search button, and it puts me into the mode. I'm going to lose the library location because what I'm actually looking to do is grab documents from any place where I can find them. So I'm just going to scroll down to PDF converter templates, choose the document schema, and run my search. And there's our document, and just to confirm, we have the same timestamp as to when this document came in. So this has located that document or any other PDFs that I might, or sorry, any other Word files that I want to use for this converter process as well. So that's sufficient now for me to do a save search. We're going to call this, workflow sign-offs, and we're going to make this a public search, which is very important. This has to be accessible within the public search system. And I'm not going to do anything else to this. I'm just going to lock this into place, and we're going to say OK. And then we're just going to navigate off of that. And I like to come back and do a quick test, and it's found that document, no problem. That completes the FDA side of what I need to do for the configuration onto this. I'm now going to head over to my web client, and we're going to log into my sysadmin account. So now again, using my system administration account, and I'm going to go into my full administration menu. And we're going to scroll down to the bottom here under Settings, Workflow. And this is where we're going to access, down here you'll see PDF converter settings along with the help icon if you need it, and choose the list of workflow merge templates. This is a list of all of the public save searches that I have. So in this case, workflow sign-offs is what I want to select. This is also where I could choose different delimiters if I wanted to. So for example, I've got it set to square bracket, pipe. Those are the defaults. I'm not changing them. If you have reason to change them, you absolutely can. Of course, there's always issues. We used to, for example, use the squiggle bracket, which name I can't remember offhand, the one that's just above the square bracket on my keyboard. We don't use those anymore. We use the square ones because they're more common within the MS products. So now that I've done that, I'm going to update my settings, and that preserves my sign-off sheets into there. If you ever want to double check that, you can always just roll back down, click on the workflow, and see that workflow sign-offs has been selected. So that means I've now triggered that save search into the PDF converter settings, and it's going to draw on that tool in order to pull our documents across. Last thing we need to do now is get into our workflow template and actually play with our configuration settings there. So let's head down to workflow templates. We're going to open that up. It's going to give me my typical list of templates. And I'm going to just scroll down this. I'm looking for my PO one. I think it's on the next page. So purchase order approval, there it is. We're going to select this, and it's going to open up and show me my workflow as built. So as always, we can go into edit onto this, and we can manipulate what we want to for this. Now in this case, I love having a custom name on my workflows. If you don't, then please consider this, because I like having the workflow name followed by the document name. If you've got a list of 100 workflow tasks that are on your list here, having a good descriptive name for it can't be more valuable. So that's where I really like having that. There's always put a custom name on. Otherwise, I've made this fairly bare bones. I haven't done a lot of the other functions that I'd often want to leverage within these. I haven't done, for example, postponements or dealing with a lot of manipulation for it. I've also, again, for the purposes of this demonstration, our first task is just a simple review of the PO, and it's been assigned to the workflow initiator. So it's going to come back to myself for that first step, again, just to make things simple for the process. Now, it's a review task. I could, if I wanted to, do the convert main documents to PDF at this point if I wanted, but that would be premature in the process. Instead, I'm going to get that over here, where I'm going to add that into workflow activity 2, which is an approval task. This is going to go to a specific user. Again, that could have gone to a group if I'd wanted to, but I'm going to send this to one user. We're going to send this over to Arthur, and I'm going to convert the main documents to PDF. So we check that box, and as soon as we do, we get the 3 dots that appear. So then I can select that, and now I can get into my settings. So where it says append pages from template, it's drawing now that list of, it's basically run that save search in the background and given me a list of all the available documents that I found. In this case, PO workflow, approval workflow. That's the template document that I'm going to be pulling from. So again, you want to give your document names that make the most sense so that you can find them within this list. Now, if I was dealing with a digital signature, this is where I could introduce that fact. So if you're dealing with Adobe Sign or another e-signature product, then this is where we could introduce that element. I also have my standard controls that I have for PDF options. By the way, these are available for any time I do convert to PDF. So we're not just using them in this case like I am with the merge tags where we're pulling our template across with it. This could be used for any kind of document. So in this case, I'm going to, I could allow printing, I could allow high resolution printing, allow changing the document, copying content, accessibility enabled, document assembly. I can put a password onto it if I wanted to. Again, I've got my own options that I can configure into this however I want. And if I don't want to worry about it, I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm just going to say OK to this. And I've now built in our convert main documents to PDF. That's been built into the workflow process. This is now sufficient for the workflow to actually trigger against this action. So we're now going to save this. One last thing to do before I wrap up on this side here, I'm going to go back down to my document schemas, and let's just have a quick look at our document types. So we're going to look for our purchase orders, which is right here. And under purchase orders, we're going to make sure that we have a workflow associated with it. I don't have a workflow right now. So let's click on edit. And so I want to bring in the correct workflow for myself, which in this case is purchase order approval. So this is the one that I want to be, and I can say add that to the schema. Now you could, if you wanted to, automatically start this sign-off sheet workflow when the PO comes in. In this case, I'm going to do this as a manually triggered process because I've already got a document in, potentially in the system, so I don't need to run this again. So I'm just going to manually trigger this one for myself. And I'm also going to hide the document versions because if this was a PO that was going into the system, I might not want it to be exposed until it had been officially signed off on for the document. So we're going to go ahead and save that onto the process. So we've now completed all of the setup. We've done steps 1 through 6. We've created our PDF merge template in Word. We've created a schema for that PDF. We've added that PDF merge template under the new schema, created our save search, configured the PDF converter settings, and finally enabled convert to PDF in the workflow template at the stage where we wanted it. That's an important point. I want to mention that quickly. This was a 2-step workflow that I built for this here. So let's go back to our workflow templates, page 2, and purchase order approvals. So I built a 2-step workflow where the second step has the script that's going to run for the convert to main documents to PDF. However, I could have had additional steps of activity after that. Now, why would you do that? For example, maybe after it's been signed off on, you want to alert someone on it. So you might create a review task to route it to another person. The document is now locked. It's a PDF, but I can still route it to the other person for them to have a look at it. So again, we have a set of tools there that we can use. Ideal, I'm done with this, and now I can log out from my system admin account because I don't need this anymore. We can close out that browser. All right, so now we're back in FileHold. Let's first of all do a search for our purchase orders, and I'm going to look for the document using my standard test number. So there it is. Here's my document in place. I can select it. We see it's got the H beside it over here, so we can suspect when we look at the version properties that it has not gone through any kind of approval process. So I can see what its status is right now. It's now ready to go through for approval. So now I can run it through its workflow and get this process kicked off. So we right-click on the document. Actually, before I do that, because I often forget to do this, let's just, first thing I'm going to do here is let's just go over to the document location. So here's my documents location, and I'm going to do a quick refresh. I'm just doing that because anytime I change my settings in the web client, I always like to do a refresh in the desktop application to make sure that what I'm seeing is still exactly where I wanted it to be. So I've done my refresh. There's my file. We're going to right-click on that, go down to Workflow, and select our Initiate Purchase Order Approval. So standard workflow screen comes up. Again, if I was creating this with an editable workflow or multiple steps or different points of activity, this is where I'd engage with it. From our testing here today, we're not doing any of that. We're just going to go ahead and say, OK, that's great. Workflow specified conversion, but SLX documents not have a suitable format for conversion. Oh, okay, so that's my fault entirely onto this, which is that I'm using the wrong format for the document because the viewer that I'm using doesn't support that here because I've actually stunted my viewer at this level. So let's just very quickly go out into, we're going to check this document out. So we're going to check this out to my FileHold documents. And then from here, I'm going to go into my working documents and we're going to access this one. So we're going to open it. That's going to open up my local copy of it. So here it is. So let's now go to File export, create a PDF. And we'll put this onto our desktop, publish it over there. If I had my print to PDF engaged in this, the FileHold print to PDF, I would just use that to get my copy of it, but this will certainly work for now. So let's just quickly do that again. So I'm going to go back over to my desktop. And where's my document? There it is. And I'm just going to where's my folder? Of course, it's out of my reach there. So let's just go back to my inbox. Now I'll navigate over to there. I always forget about one little detail on these. I was doing this before with a Word document, and apparently I moved over to the wrong kind of document. So we'll set our destination for this. First of all, we're going to put this in with our manufacturing purchase orders 2022, and then we're going to set our metadata for it. So we have a purchase order here, so we're going to choose our purchase order document type, and our PO number we remember is 123456. The GL code that I selected before was this one. Our vendor is FileHold. Our total was $1,232, and I think it was 78 cents if I recall. The request date on this was, I can't remember what it was, but we're going to use June 1 just to have a value onto that. And this was requested by Jennifer. And I'm going to put no other values onto these, scroll down to the bottom. So I wasn't received in the warehouse, not ready to pay, not been paid, not using any of those check boxes, and we'll delete the local copy after it's been added. So we're going to go ahead and save the values onto that. We have our purchase order, and we're going to send this into the system. So we've completed that PDF conversion. I'm going to come back down to over here, and now I'm going to right-click on our document, workflow, and we're going to initiate purchase order approval. Same process as before, and we're going to say OK. So we've now put this document off into workflow, and we know that's happened because even though I'm the document owner, delete's been removed, and if I look at the version properties for this, we'll see it's pending approval for the status. Step one of the workflow was it was going to be routed to me for my initial review. So sure enough, I've got a task. I'm going to select my task list. There it is. And we're going to go ahead and complete the task. So I select there. Submit review panel opens up. I can get my details onto this, when it was initiated, initial document add, etc. We're going to go ahead and say thumbs up. This is fine. And now we can go ahead and add our comment into this. For the thing discussed at the last meeting. I mean, again, just a note that I think is relevant to the next person who's going to be seeing this, right? That's the entire purpose of it. Now, because it's a review task, no password is required. I'm simply saying this is still valid. Yes, it is. And off it goes. So you can see my task list is empty, so I don't need to be here anymore. So I can go ahead and if I wanted to, I can go to the workflow status report. This will tell me what's happened with it, and I can see that this is now, first task is complete, and it's gone to Arthur. So now we're going to go open a different web browser as Arthur. Let's do a refresh in case I've timed out. There it is, we've refreshed, and sure enough, here's Arthur's task. Arthur has a task on this, which is purchase order approval for PO number 123456 from FileHold. So again, without even knowing what the document is, you've got the key information that you might need onto this just from the workflow name. But if I wanted to, I could also show the documents onto this in case Arthur wanted to take a deeper look at the document. But in this case, not necessary. We've also blocked Arthur from being able to check this document out. It's not been permitted by the workflow, so that's fine. We're going to click on our approve, and we're going to go ahead and complete our task. So again, our interaction window is going to come up, this time with thumbs up or thumbs down, so Arthur can accept or reject. We're going to accept the document in the process, and then we can put another note onto this. Fine, go ahead, just a comment that I can put onto this. And then I need to put my password in, because remember, this is an important part of an approval workflow or an approval task, because I need to sign it off with my password. So I'm going to do the thumbs up, and there it goes. It completes my list of tasks. I can come back now over into FileHold, and we'll go to our workflow status report. And we see that our document has been completed. Now, if I go show documents up here, it'll show me the related documents, which is now version 2. So we have an updated version of this document than what was produced before. So if I right click on this document and open it up in the FileHold viewer, it's going to preview it for me, which I think opened up in the docked version of it. Oh yes, there it is over here. So here's my document now. Let's go to full screen on this. We've got page 1, which is our purchase order exactly as put in. I got the total wrong. That's my bad memory. And if I scroll down, here we've got the sign-off sheet. So participant name, Chris, date, the 29th, on behalf of, no one on behalf of, participant type, reviewer, comment for the thing discussed at last meeting, Arthur, approver, fine, go ahead. The approval date, workflow name, workflow template, all has been completed from the sign-off sheet from the merge tags that we've used. Version 1 was the approved document. This is now version 2, which is the marked one. So that's why it says version 1 onto that, initiated by Chris, document owner Chris, with its own FileHold ID number identified. And then the metadata that I had for this document, which obviously was incorrect, but if I was doing this for real, I probably would have done that with a bit more time and care, obviously. But we've got our document, it's been tagged, processed, and brought over to here, and now that sign-off sheet lives with the document. So we've converted it to a PDF, brought that sign-off sheet with it, brought the metadata over for it, and it's been applied against the document. This is the principles behind creating the sign-off sheet. So there's lots of front-end work, but from the user experience, they're not seeing any of it. This is all just administration doing the configure, and then once executed, the rest of the users can simply take advantage of this, and the documents can reside in the system. The additional advantage to this means that not only do I have a document, so if I wanted to go to the document location, so I'm browsing and looking through my files, I can see here's my document, it's been approved, I can click onto that, and I can see that standard sheet. But if I was to share this with somebody externally, I can see that sign-off sheet as part of it. Because I've asked the person to do it as an approval task with their password, I've got 2 levels of that authentication. Not only what I've added to my document, but also the e-signature that's contained within FileHold, because I had Arthur apply his password into it in order to sign off and prove his own identification within the system. So here we can see version 1 of the document, and the history is not submitted for approval. Version 2 has been approved. So that's the one that's currently residing in the repository with its approved stamp on top of it. And that is the workflow sign-off sheet process. So lots of steps of that there. Honestly, once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to build these. You can have multiple templates, and then from the workflow, you can choose which process to run it through. You can also do multiple sign-off sheets on a document. So if you needed additional levels, you could do another convert to PDF process. You can also, through the formatting, and there's instructions for how to do this on the website, that top bar of merge tag text, and if you don't remember what that was, let's just go back and take a look for that workflow template. So we can just remember that's easy to find now because I've got my workflow sign-off sheet save search. So if I double click this document, open it up in Word, all of this text here, how this lays out in order to turn that into this phrasing over here, that's all explained on our website. There's a lot of detailed information there how to get to that. Just have a look for merge tags, and then you're looking for sign-off sheets. It'll be at the top of the merge tag page on our website.